Insider presents Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughran. We cover entertainment, news, and tech with special guest appearances. So sit back and enjoy as we geek out together right now.
All right. Well, welcome to Geek Speak with me. I'm Meredith Loughran, and Matthew Harris is our co-host, and we are so happy to have you here. If you could introduce yourself really quickly and let people know who you are and why you're here.
I am Aliyah Royale. I play Iris Bennett on The Walking Dead World Beyond, which airs October 4th at 10 p.m. after the season finale of The Walking Dead.
That must be really exciting for you. I mean, that is such a huge franchise that's been around. No pressure on you because you're like basically carrying this new show.
No pressure at all. It's easy.
Now, tell everyone though, what is World Beyond, The Walking Dead World Beyond? What's the new show about?
World Beyond is just giving us such a different perspective on the undead world. We've seen fear travel, but you're just in an all new place. We're in Omaha. We're at this campus community. We call it the night the sky fell, the night that the apocalypse took over. And basically, my sister and I, we've just been living within this community since we were 5-6 years old. We don't know any other reality than the apocalypse. This is our normal. And at some point we decide that we'd rather risk like all the danger and be outside the walls than stay in here and never become a person, just become someone else who was trapped in this undead world. And it's a really powerful story from there on.
That's a really interesting take because, you know, having watched the original series, I always wondered because I love writing, I love horror, and I was like, how are they going to take it beyond that? You know, so it's kind of like the next generation where we're seeing this new world, and I find that very interesting. Go ahead, Matthew, you had a question.
No, I was just going to say, I kind of had this same wondering when the original series was first going on, probably second or third season, of what it is going to be like for those that never knew the world before. You know, that these children that they're the first generation to grow up after the apocalypse. And so I'm really, really excited to see and interested to see where the writers take this. How was that? Because I know the other series the main series was filmed in Georgia. The other one, they kind of bounced around. They were filmed in my neck of the woods a couple of times. And you said, I'm sorry, where did you say y'all have been filming at?
We filmed in Virginia.
In Virginia.
Very interesting. I actually grew up, we call it the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. But for some reason, I didn't remember the lightning that happens in the summer. In Virginia summers, the very humid, hot days with lightning. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, if you like humidity, you know, I'm down in Texas here, and we have got plenty of it. So if you love the humidity,
you know, if you could just like send the barbecue to the house, and I'll receive that and leave the good old humidity over there.
Yeah, that's the reason why my hair is up like this. I'm in Florida, and it's just crazy hair. So I just trying to put it up. So. What was it like? I mean, were you tapped on the shoulder for this role? Did you have to go audition? I mean, like, what was that process like? Because again, this is such a huge franchise that it must have been very competitive.
It was so competitive that I did not know about it even a little bit. I think I remember hearing like Nicholas Cantu, who plays Elton on the show, he had been cast like way early on, like 3 months before I ever even saw the audition. And I was like, that's crazy, that's awesome. When the audition came across my desk, they were moving very quickly. I saw the email, it said Untitled Walking Dead Project, and I was like, with the dead things. That maybe I'll just go for fun. There's no way I'm gonna get it. I was in New York the next day testing for it. I came back to New York the day after that, and then I had the phone call that I got it. And then I think 2 days later, I was on the ground running in Virginia.
Wow.
It was an insane process. It was probably the quickest casting process that I've had. They had been searching for Iris for a really long time. And after I told my friends, like, hey, I just booked this, they were like, oh my God, we went out for that like 4 months ago. So I think I was just in the right place at the right time. And I'd say when there's a giant search like that for this kind of character, I think the role found me, and I'm very happy to be playing here.
Now, of course, the Walking Dead series is story driven, character driven, but the dead, or that other aspect of the cast in World Beyond, are we going to be seeing a lot of the dead, or is this really just character focused on the kids?
Oh, we have a whole lot of dead for you to see. Our special effects team is incredible. The Walking Dead and Fear, they come up with the most elaborate entrapments for these walkers when you're seeing them. It's like, how could you make them look any cooler? What else could you come up with? And our team does it. They come. There's some very scary ones. But our walkers are just decrepit and decayed.
Because they're older. I mean,
setting in on them. Yeah, they're not. I mean, I'm sure some of them turned at some point recently, but they're we're 10 years later. One of the scenes that you see in the trailers that we've released is when we're the night the sky fell, there's this, plane crash, and you see these walkers just embossed in all of this moss, and they're still trapped in the seats of the plane. That was really fun to just even walk by.
Have you ever felt tempted to be like, hey, can you just zombify me for like a day? I mean, to be a walker one day. Have you actually done that?
That's like a 4-hour process, and I need a snack break in between, somewhere in there. But I definitely would love to see Iris as a walker, and maybe that's something cool to look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, with this series, you never know, a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, even as a cameo, like when you're not on camera, because again, you're kind of carrying this series. So I'm sure you're in a whole bunch of scenes, if not all of them. So, that's got to be exhausting. But, the idea of just doing like a cameo, like walk by in Zombie would be so cool. Anyway, one can dream. Anyway.
Now, of course, I'm assuming here that the majority of production was done pre-COVID. Did the pandemic and what we call the worldwide pause or the great pause, did that have any effect on production, or had y'all pretty much already wrapped the first season before?
We shot from July to December of last year.
Oh, okay.
So we were already fully into post-production. We were supposed to air in April, but due to the pandemic, that was delayed to October. That was definitely heartbreaking at first. The greatest part about my job is being able to share it with my mother. I'm older now. She doesn't need to be on set with me, so she can't always come with me, and she has her own life. But the moment where I get to like drive her down Sunset Boulevard and show her, the billboard, or say, okay, tonight it's coming on, Mom. Those moments are just so important, for us. She moved out here with me when I was 11. It's a big deal for a parent to pick their life up and be like, okay, my kid wants to be a movie star. All right, let's see what that looks like. But I think October is a great time. I think we're in the right month and in the right time and place to air the show finally.
Now, I take it season 2 has not picked up production yet, correct?
We have an incredible writer's room going to work day and night. Definitely a lot of scripts coming out, but we'll be in production really, really soon.
Good deal. Good deal.
Now, how much input do you have as far as character development? I mean, do you go strictly by script? Do you improv a little bit? How much feedback do you have as far as, hey, I want to see her going in this direction?
That's probably what I love most about working on World Beyond. Our showrunner Matt Negretti is incredible. We have extremely talented writers. We'll start the show in a certain direction, and I remember Matt saying, like, I wrote the scene this way, and then you said one line in a way that I didn't even imagine you saying it, and now the rest of the episode has changed. Like, something like that will happen. All of our characters have had those moments. There's an outline that's always written, but the story changes based on how the actor plays it. That's how you make it a combined effort. You know, it's not just the writer's story or the showrunner's story or the actor's story. It's all of it. And we combine those elements together. I personally go episode by episode. If I'm shooting season 1, episode 2, I don't want to know what happens in episode 6, 7, 8, anything on. I don't want to know what happens season 2. I want to live Iris moment by moment, because that's how I'm going to be the most honest and genuine Iris. Everything else, I'll find it out when I watch the show.
That is too great. That's too great. Now, with filming in Virginia, are you still living in New York, or are you living in LA?
I'm living in LA.
So how is that going from West Coast to East Coast for, how many ever months y'all are filming, and then going back? I've always just wondered about that transatlantic, or not transatlantic, whatever you call it, living on one coast and working on the other. How's that working out?
I'm a military brat, so I moved around from Maryland, San Jose, Kentucky, Michigan, all the way around. It feels natural for me to be in motion. It's really hard, even when you're on a project for, the 6 months that we were shooting. I'm like, okay, I know I'm in Virginia for 6 months, but where else am I going? So it's nice to be able to go back to the West Coast and be bi-coastal. I'm always going to want to be on the move. I like that. I like being busy. I like having my hands just busy.
So then the pandemic has not been the best of all worlds for you then.
Oh, Jesus. No, not at all. It's definitely been tough. Things are picking up, which I'm extremely excited about. But I've had the show to look forward to. And, sometimes when you're on the go so much, you forget what it's like to just be able to stand still and sleep for longer than 6 hours. And I've been doing a lot of that. So that's great.
Now, as far as the in-between time, so how do you keep yourself busy? Do you write? Do you imagine maybe producing or directing your own shows or anything like that? I mean, this is Geek Insider. We love getting inside the geek.
Right. Absolutely. I definitely want to be on the other side of the camera. I am already working on a couple projects with a close actor, singer friend of mine, Aliyah Royale. We've gotten a few scripts that we're working on, getting the right funding to bring it to life. We're actors, which means we know how to tell a story, Right. I think that's a really awesome tool to be able to be on the acting side of the camera for when you're the director, for when you're writing. You just have a different outlook, different perspective of what you want the project to look like. And being able to take on these different roles, it just makes us, just gives us more tools in our tool belt. And I'm ready to go to the other side of the camera, definitely.
Very cool. And of course, folks, again, in case you missed it, you can catch The Walking Dead World Beyond this Sunday after the season finale of The Walking Dead. And you can see a whole new take on the dead world. We're going to be with a group of kids that they've never known anything but the dead, the world after, what y'all call it, the night the sky fell. I like that. And how is it with being bi-coastal and you're filming for so many months out of the year? Are you staying in touch with your co-stars after you guys, are off set, or y'all just kind of going your own separate way and waiting for the world to open up so y'all can get back to work, or are y'all kind of bonded?
We're bonded just at the soul. It's one of those things where no matter how long you're apart or how far you're apart, the moment you come back together again, it's like no time has passed. But we're spread all over. Hal comes to me, plays Silas. He's in Australia. Nico Tortorella's in New York. Alexa's in Canada right now. I'm in LA. We're all, in our own little universes right now, but being able to have moments where we can do press together
Right.
and each other's faces on these Zoom screens. You feel the energy as soon as you're with us, and I love that.
Well, one of the things that we're hoping will happen in 2021 is that the world will open up again, and Comic Cons and horror cons and all of those things. Have you been approached by any? Is it something that if somebody were to call you and say, "Hey, in like 2 months, we're going to try and have this Comic Con," is that something that you would probably go to? Because there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I don't know, I think it's too early," and some people are like, "Yeah, I'd be there in a second."
Here's how this would go. Are you ready? They'd go, "Hi, Aliyah Royale. Yes, speaking. Come," and then I'm there, and then I'm literally on the flight, literally there, right then and there. New York Comic-Con last year was the most incredible experience. We had our panel there. It was the first time that we actually just came out to the world as it's funny, we actually didn't tell anyone the name of the show yet, but we came out to the world as the cast of World Beyond. We went, our panel went on right after the Walking Dead's panel, and of course we're in the wings of the stage watching the Walking Dead panel, and the fans are going crazy. Just the love in that room. You can't even say like excitement, like just legitimate love, joy in that room was overpowering, and I just remember being like, oh man, why do they have to go on first? Like, dang, what is our panel gonna look like? And the moment we walked on stage, we had that same exact like roar of a welcome, and that was the moment that I knew like this is the fan base to be a part of. These fans are invested in the storyline, in the characters. There were moments where while watching the Walking Dead panel, I was like, I think the fans know more than y'all do. Dang. And I love being a part of a fan base like that. It feels like we are all invested in these characters and in these storylines, and that's powerful.
Now, of course, The Walking Dead started out as a comic book, and we love comics around here. Are you into any comics? And if so, which were your favorites?
Oh my gosh, comics that were my favorites. I have to be real with you, probably the Archie comics. And you know what's crazy? I was more like an avid nonfiction / fiction reader when I was younger. I always have my head in some book. But one day I was at, and I hate that this is how I came across Archie comics. I was at the mall, and Mac had released, I think it was Mac, they released like an Archie line of like lipsticks and all this stuff. And I saw like Veronica and Betty, and I was like, okay. And I was doing a whole bunch of Googling, and then that was when I went to my first comic book shop the next day. And yeah, those comics I really love. It'd be cool to play a character like that too. Like Veronica, Betty, yeah.
There's a certain wholesomeness to those characters,
Yeah. I think about those characters on Riverdale, and I'm like, wow, how it's changed.
I was just fixing to bring that up and ask if you'd watched any of it. I haven't watched any of it. I used to read the Archie comics as well. Loved Jughead, but I haven't watched any of the Riverdale. But I know it's a complete. It's like they put a horror twist on it, isn't it?
It's definitely very different than the comics. We're in a different world these days than when those comics first came out. But I love the original. I'm someone who, I like the classics. Like if there was a 1990 version of a film that came out, because that's not classic to me, but if there's a 1990 version that came out, I want to see the 1960 version, the 1950 version. I think originals are powerful, classics are powerful, and that's the world that I live in.
Very cool.
So tell us a little bit about like your acting career. When did you start? I mean, were you like a little itty bitty thing and, you know, mom was kind of taking you to the auditions and stuff? Or was it something where you went like, Ma, I think I really want to be an actress? And, you know, because my parents never understood me. They're like, where is this creativity coming from? Oh my gosh, what do I do with this child?
Absolutely. That's hard. It's not your typical 9 to 5. It comes from the heart, which means you're just invested in it so much more. It always starts as like a hobby or something that you love doing for fun, and then at some point you're like, wait a minute, I can get a check from this? Like, okay, like let's do that. I started really, really young, like 5 years old, in school plays and church plays. Anywhere I could get my hands on a script or be on stage, that was what I did for a really long time. And I remember I was 11 and we were in Michigan at the time, and I was like, Mommy, I can do it. I really can. I'm talented enough, and I promise you I'm gonna have the most incredible work ethic that you've ever seen if you just give me this chance. And I don't know what angel touched my mother that night, but she was like, yeah, okay. And we got up and we moved, and it was hard at first. I mean, the first 2 years of my career in LA, I was a background artist. I was an extra, you know. I remember being on one of those CSI shows, and it was like a carnival scene, and I was on the Ferris wheel in the very, very back of the frame. And I just remember like, hey, I was on that Ferris wheel, you know, when I'm watching the episode, like you cannot even see the outline of my body. That's how far away I was from the camera. And just to go from that to getting like a featured extra, or like having a one line or a co-star, guest star, to literally leading The Walking Dead World Beyond. I'm just grateful that my mother has stuck by me through it all. You know, obviously there's the moments that's like, so when are you going to go to college? And like, I hear what you're saying, but maybe like a side job, you know what I mean? You know, every parent just wants to make sure that their child is taken care of and is doing the best for himself. But I think I've got her in a place where she's like, yeah, this is what my kid does. And I'm happy to be there with her.
Now, in World Beyond, are your parents around? Are these kids on their own, or is it kind of a mix?
These kids are on their own. That's a large part of the story is driven by Elton, Iris, and Hope looking for their parents, or progressing from where their parents left off. I'd say also. It's really just us, which I guess, one, because we grew up in the apocalypse, and two, because we didn't have the typical parents that you grew up with. We had to grow up really fast, and we acquired a lot of trauma very early on due to having to grow up really fast. And I think that's one thing that people are going to be surprised about on the show, is although you're seeing it from a younger perspective of these like 15, 16-year-olds, we're talking about real stuff. There's real trauma, there's real heartbreak, there's real secrets that come to light. Anytime you embark on an adventure like what we're doing, your true qualities that lie dormant while we were in that safe, sheltered community, they come out. And it's interesting to see these young adults dealing with very real grown adult problems.
And I wanted to ask you, because when you are fully immersed in a character, that must be hard to turn off when you go home. So when you're kind of recording this, do you kind of stay there and kind of keep people away because you're like, no, I'm kind of really I'm in the zone here, or are you able to shut it off when you go home?
That's so funny. So your question is, am I Daniel Day-Lewis? Right. You know, I wouldn't say that I'm a method actor, just because I can break character. I can break character pretty easily when I need to, but on set, yeah, I'm Iris. The good thing about playing Iris, which is what I've been lucky with in my career so far, is the characters I play are very, very close to who I am as a person. I have the same fierce loyalty that Iris has. I definitely take on more of the leadership role, the tenacity that Iris has, and I think Iris's biggest flaw is the same flaw that I have, which is just having this overwhelming sense and awareness of accountability, which I love just for me. But Iris's problem is that sometimes she takes accountability for other people. She takes responsibility for things that other people have done, or just that person in general. And I do that sometimes too. So it's very easy for me to be Iris. It's just being a younger version of myself, really.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Now, Matthew, we've only got a couple minutes left. We usually have a question that we ask at the very end, and I always screw it up, so I pass the baton over to Matthew. Because we know you're busy, and you've got a press junket that you're going to do. We call it the gauntlet because it's got to be exhausting. You know, it's like beat them up, okay, and then let them rest afterwards. So, Matthew, I'm going to pass it back to you.
And the question that we always ask everyone, it's an easy question to ask, not so easy to answer sometimes. But if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Do what you want.
Oh, that was very easy. Oh,
that's easy. I came out the womb with an overwhelming sense of who I am and who I want to be and what I want to do. I've always had direction. I don't know why, but I came out very ambitious. I knew I liked that color and not that color. I knew that I was going to wear that skirt and not those pair of jeans. Like, that was me, like, from the moment I hopped out the womb. There's just a lot of moments where I think that's also what I like about Iris is, you know, we're young adults on this show. We're teenagers, but we're making decisions for ourselves without needing, you know, an adult figure or guardian to tell us, like, this is what you should do, or this is what I would do when I was your age. I think too many times in film and television, we depict young people as just easily impressionable, and they can't do anything for themselves. They're just too rebellious, and it's all the hormones and all that. And it's like, yeah, or maybe this is actually how I feel. Maybe what I'm saying is true. Maybe if you look at the facts, I'm right, you know? And being able to play a character who's that strong-willed, it means everything to me, especially being a young woman. I really like playing a female character who's not, you know, 30, flirty, and thriving, who's just figuring it out as she goes, but she's being decisive about it. She may not always know how to execute what she wants to do, but she knows the direction that she's on. She knows the path. And I've always been like that. And there were times when I was younger that I was like, I don't know, maybe I should do what this person said to do, or maybe why be creative? Why not, you know, get the degree and get the secure job that I know is going to help me buy my first house. You know what I mean? And I think I would have gotten a lot further and just been more secure in myself if I would have just been like, do what you want, however you feel, it's valid, go do it, boo.
I love it.
That is so powerful, especially for young people, whether you're a little girl or a little boy, you know, who are growing up, and just say, hey, do it. Because I mean, we have all of these you know, monsters under the bed and things like that, and that ability and the empowerment to pursue those dreams. Or even expand your creativity. Even if you can't go out into the world, at least throw it down on paper, you know, get your iPhone out, make a movie or something like that. Aliyah, we appreciate you for being here. We know that you have to get going. We were told we only have you for half an hour.
But is there any social media that you want to share where people can follow you? I mean, they know they can catch you Sunday nights on The Walking Dead World Beyond, but is there anything you want to share out?
Yes, I am on Instagram at Aliyah Royale. That's ALIYAHROYALE. Come talk to me. I love talking to new people, especially about World Beyond.
That's awesome. All right. So Walking Dead World Beyond, October 4th, which is this Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern on AMC. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks so much.
To get going. We appreciate you for being on Geek Speak with us.
I can't wait to talk with you guys again. It's been a blast.
Yep, come by anytime. Thanks so much, Aliyah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been tuning in to Geek Speak with Matthew Harris and Meredith Loughran, a Geek Insider presentation. Subscribe to the Geek Insider Podcast on your favorite listening app and sign up for the newsletter on our website. We also have advertising opportunities through the website, podcast, and newsletter. For details, contact advertising at geekinsider.com. This has been a Geek Insider production. Thank you for listening. Geek out!